Muted.
Okay, good morning everybody. I hope everybody had a good Memorial Day weekend. This is Stephen Boulden of 12.3, and today's topic for our ACT virtual user groups is going to be methods of getting ACT data on your mobile device. So without further ado, let's get started. I've identified three primary ways that I like to get ACT on a mobile phone, and we're going to try to keep it a little bit brief today. There are more ways than just these three, but these are really the main three that I see people use most commonly day to day. I know in the email I sent out, I said Handheld Contact was our favorite, and I put it as number one, but I'm going to actually save the best for last there. The first and most common way of getting ACT on your mobile device is using ACT Premium for Web. Now, ACT Premium for Web is a feature only included in ACT Premium. So if you are an ACT Pro user, this will not be available to you. What ACT Premium for Web allows you to do is host a web portal into your database so that you can log on to it through any internet browser. So what that means, essentially, there's two kinds of ACT here. If you have ACT Premium, you have the locally installed desktop version, which you guys are probably very familiar with. You run it and launch it as a program on your computer. But one of the computers at your company is functioning as a server with the main ACT database on it. And what that server can do is, in addition to your locally installed desktop version, it can also open up a web port to allow web traffic to log into your database if they have the right username and password. And the locally installed desktop version doesn't go anywhere, but what this does is adds a new web address if you have the URL of a server, and this would be unique to every server that is out there. But what people can do is anywhere that has a mobile browser, any phone, any tablet, any computer, Mac or PC, if you have internet, I'm using Google Chrome right here. If you have an internet browser, you can enter the IP address of your server and directly log into ACT. And so they've been putting a lot of resources into this ACT Premium for Web product over the past 6 years. The latest version brought with it more stability and support for Google Chrome, although there's still a lot of quirks going on with this feature. But if I log in from a desktop browser here, I hit a splash screen that shows an ACT login. In a drop-down, I have all of the databases on our server. The ACT 2016 demo is one that comes with every version of ACT. We also have our actual T3 database here. But if I log into the demo database, then I actually get a web version of ACT that I can use. And I'm still in Chrome here, and you could log in and use this on a machine that you never actually installed the desktop application on, or you could pull up this address on your phone and be able to log in. Everything is, it's a web page, so all of these different buttons are more like links. If I want to schedule calls, here's a good example. My alarms window just came up and it's a pop-up here. And scheduling calls brings up another pop-up, and all these drop-downs are elements in HTML5. And you can use this in much the same way as ACT that you've used in the past. You can see my page just refreshed on me, and here's where a lot of the quirks of this web version comes in. Every one of the things I'm going to show you today has its strengths and drawbacks. This web version, one of the drawbacks to it is that the data is not stored locally on your computer. When you're using the desktop version, things are almost instant as you do lookups and searches. The data you're either accessing right off the server on the network, or you're pulling it up off of your laptop's remote database, and searches can happen very quickly as you move around between different contacts and notes and history and reports. The web version, anytime that I do a lookup here, it's doing a web request. It's like loading a web page, and there's a little bit more latency between it because you have to wait for things to load every time that you interact with the database. It's one of my big qualms about this is a lot of people say that the load times are a little bit too much for them to stay patient. The good news is that this ACT Premium for Web, if you have ACT Premium, it is free and included. There's really no downside to setting it up. You do need a web server, or at least a computer that can act as a server that can remain online at all times. That would be the one hosting the database. And you also would need an ACT Premium license, and Premium these days comes with a subscription. And so I mentioned that this can go as a mobile browser. If I were to be on a mobile device, the thing is when I loaded up this URL for the web page, it brought me right here to the main login screen. If it had detected that I'm on a mobile browser, and if I had brought this up from my phone, it would redirect me to the same URL/m. And again, this URL is going to be unique depending for everybody's company. This URL is normally an IP address most commonly. You can map a domain name to it like we did here, but it's going to be the IP of your server. If I were on a mobile browser, it would actually take me into the mobile section of the app automatically. And the mobile section looks like this. It's a lot more trimmed down, kind of like a mobile style. Everything as you tap and go through it, it's all still here. And the beauty of this is every record will have, you can call right from your phone here to their numbers. You can have all of your fields. Any custom fields you have in the database, you can edit this to have them here on the screen. ID status, you have notes and history for a contact. There's a lot of glitches with the mobile version though here, and it depends on what kind of phone you have. Android users seem to have a very good time of this. iPhone users like myself, there's a lot of glitches that they're still working out. The latest update with version 18.1 fixed, they claim, 117 different bug errors and known glitches with this mobile version. Yeah, but there's still a few out there. And so having the data here, I consider it probably one of the best ways to have a quick, easy lookup of information on the go. If you wanted to just open up your phone and quickly check your calendar, or open up your phone and try to find a contact and their address right away, Act4Web is a good way to do it. It might take you a minute to log in and get to the record, but if all you're needing is a quick piece of data, it's helpful for that much without busting out your whole computer or something while you're on the road. I do not recommend it strongly for being a heavy workhorse. I know several organizations that do have some employees that are remote or out in the field that will use the Act4Web. To me, I wouldn't really want to try to drive people to this too much because it's really not made for all the heavy lifting in the end. Another good note about Act4Web though is that since you're logging in to your database on the web server, there's no sync needed. You're logging into the direct master copy of the database. Any info that you edit or modify is editing the master database file. So this is an instant, real-time, live copy of the most instant data, or most recent data every time you log into it. So that's Act Premium for Web. If you have Act Premium and you guys are not currently using Act Premium for Web, you can get in touch with me and we'll talk about how we can go about setting it up and what you need to do to get this activated. The next option I like for Act on mobile devices is much more limited in scope, and so I'm going to stay on it in brief, but it's to use Google Sync. Act integrates with Google as of 2013, and if you go here into your Act database under Tools, Integrate with Google, and Google Integration Preferences. They added these features back in 2013. They've been flaky at times, but essentially they do work for the most part. The part that I seem to think has the most trouble is the automatic synchronization, but it does still stay working for most people most of the time. If you have a Google account, that's a Gmail account, or maybe your company uses Google Apps for Business, you can synchronize your Act calendar and contacts into your Google account. And then using Google as the middleman, you can log into your Google account on your phone and synchronize them with your phone's contacts and calendars. Android users probably already have a Google account they had to set up when they set up their phone. iPhone users, if you have a Google account, you can actually add it to your phone's native Calendars app and look at your Google Calendar right there on your phone. And so essentially, when you try to set up your Google integration preferences here, first you select an ACT database that you want to integrate. And so you'll open up your ACT database file, give it your username and password. You register it with your Google account, which will ask you to log in and provide them with your Gmail account and password. And then you have 3 independent options where you can synchronize your calendar, enable that or not. You can synchronize contacts. You have your choice of synchronizing all contacts or just specific groups. And you can even record history. This is more for folks who might have a Google Apps for Business account. If you don't use Outlook and you actually use Gmail, you'd probably strongly want to consider using this Google integration to record history, because ACT will record your Outlook emails sent. Google will record your Gmail emails sent and received. Pretty useful feature for folks who don't use Outlook. But I want to focus mostly on calendar. And if you synchronize this calendar with Google, then periodically, using the automatic integration settings here, ACT will send all of your calendar of events up to Google's servers. Then they're in the cloud. They're on your Gmail account. You'd be able to see that from your calendar, from your phone, or everywhere else that you're logged in. They kind of act as a very good middleman that way because everything on Earth integrates with Google. Another note about this, the event info that's synchronized up is very limited. It doesn't synchronize, if you do contacts, it won't synchronize custom fields. It will only synchronize basic contact data, generally limited to things like name, number, fax, company, address. That's kind of hitting the end of it. You can't do custom fields. You might have ID status or all other sorts of customizations you've done to your ACT database that have specific things that you might want on your phone if you're doing this contact sync. It also doesn't really only work very well as a one-way sync for putting your ACT calendar onto Google. It can take your Google Calendar activities and put them back into ACT, but I find that it doesn't always match them up with contacts in the right way. And it's really better to think of it as a one-way sync. And so this one's more limited, but it's a good free option for pro or premium users out there who just want a way to be able to look at their ACT calendar for the day or synchronize their ACT contacts into their phone's address book without having to bust open their computer every time they want to look something up when they're on the go. And last but not least, we have my favorite method of the day and the one that I'm going to spend the most time focusing on, and that is Handheld Contact. And Handheld Contact is a paid subscription that costs $79 per device per year. But it works the best because how Handheld Contact works is that you run an application on your ACT server. Handheld Contact has a Windows locally installed application that sits on your server, synchronizes your ACT data up to the cloud to Handheld Contact servers. They're owned by a company called J2X Technologies, and they're based in Ontario, Canada. And so your ACT data is synchronized to their servers, and then your phone, you can install an app on your phone. They have the app for Android, iOS, BlackBerry, and Windows phones. That phone app will synchronize with their servers in a two-way sync and pull the data back down to your device. The data is saved locally on your device, so there's no load times like you saw with ACT for Web. It's very stable because it's not just a web browser shortcut. It's an actual installed app that you get right out of the App Store, optimized to work with your phone's operating system, something that ACT has been kind of having trouble getting done from their end with ACT for Web. Handheld Contact allows you to synchronize contacts along with all custom fields. It will synchronize up to 5 notes and histories for each contact. It can even synchronize tasks, calendars. They say opportunities will be coming soon. I'm excited to see all of this stuff. I wanted to show you guys what Handheld Contact looks like when it's running on the server. Unfortunately, coming in after a long Memorial Day weekend, Jeff wasn't able to accommodate me and get me on the server. He's going to be in the office soon enough. But essentially, there's just an app that you run on the server. It's easy to install and set up, and it will synchronize your data for you. It's involved with a install the app, sign into your ACT database, and select your options of what data you want to synchronize. And then from your phone, you download the app from the App Store, sign in with your Handheld Contact account, and the data starts trickling down. We do have a free 30-day sign-up for this. All you need is an email address, and we have a Handheld Contact free 30-day trial. I'm sending that in the chat box to everybody now. It's also in the email that I sent you guys this morning. The Handheld Contact button is a link to sign up for a free 30-day trial. And I recommend that people give this a go, at least for 30 days. You don't need a credit card up front, so you don't have any worries about that. Since I'm sitting here presenting from my computer, I can't really show you what the mobile app looks like. But if you do go to handheldcontact.com, you can find some screenshots around. Essentially, it's, here's some screenshots they show you from an iPhone, Android, and a tablet here. You have notes along the bottom for contacts, task lists, calendar. And as you click on each contact, you can see all of their details. You can call them right from your phone. If you do call a contact out of Handheld Contact, your phone will prompt you to record history right after the call is done, to record that history in ACT. They'll have email addresses there, and you can write emails directly from your phone and all other custom fields that you have. I like this one just because it's the fastest. There's no load times over the internet, and it's the most stable. All right, I'm going to open the floor to questions. I'm also going to close with another note that there are other products out there that will get ACT to your phone. There's one that we used to be resellers for that it had a good heyday. It was called Companion Link. And got restructured a little bit and changed their name to Deja Office. And I've worked with it and supported it on many people's computers, but it's always been just a little bit glitchy. And I can't really say that I can give it an honest recommendation. If you still have it and it's working for you, good for you, but I wouldn't steer anybody towards that. Yeah, I'll open up for questions now. Donna is saying, my sync keeps stopping with Handheld. I'm going to put us back on mute here. My sync keeps stopping with Handheld. Is there something I need to do for maintenance in order to keep this from happening? Donna, what I would check is that Handheld Contact is running on the server. I would open the application on the server. Within your options in the application, you can set how often it's set to sync, and it might be turned off entirely. You can set it to sync every 10 minutes, every 30 minutes, certain days of the week, certain hours of the day. That's where I would start by looking in there for you. Let's see. Guillermo says he used to use Deja Office, but it's not really good anymore. Will the Handheld Contact really be better and sync it better? Absolutely. That's, Guillermo, exactly like I just said. Deja Office had a good heyday, and it really went downhill. Handheld Contact is a superior product in many ways. I really recommend just sign up for the free trial. You really don't have much to lose. It takes a bit of, not too much work, but it'll take an hour of your time to get it all set up and synchronized and all the settings rolling. But once you're on it, use it for 30 days, and if you don't like it, then just let it expire and never touch it again. It really does work much more stable into getting it on there. No, you do not have to get rid of Deja Office before setting up the new one. They are compatible. They're separate programs. They can run side by side and independently of one another. Anita, yes. Handheld Contact will work on any version of ACT within reason. On their downloads page here, it will work with version ACT 7, that's 2005, all the way up to version 18. So any version of ACT they've released in the last 11 years. Donna asks if she can set up her technicians separately for their schedules. Handheld Contact is priced at $79 per device per year. And so if every technician wanted their own copy of Handheld Contact, that would be a subscription for each. There is different pricing if you're buying like 5 licenses. For a while they had a promo about if you wanted to add it to a second device, you could get one of them half off. They do have on the purchase tab here a way that you can build your own quote. And let's just see here. Yeah, they're keeping them all at $79 per device. We can get you better pricing than that if you're buying more than one. But if you have multiple users, each one's going to have their own Handheld Contact subscription. I recommend installing the Handheld Contact application on the server, and you can have everybody's Handheld Contact account running off of the one application so that there's only one sync happening for everybody at once. It'll save the most system resources overall that way. Also, you can choose in Handheld Contact to see other users' calendars. So it's not just only syncing your own user data. You can actually synchronize everybody's calendars. So for managers on the team, if you want to be able to open up Handheld Contact and see what everybody else is doing for the day, you can do that. Okay, well, without further ado, I think we're going to close it out here unless there's any further questions. I appreciate everybody attending. Some good news for me. I'm going to be on vacation for the next 2 weeks. I'll be back possibly on Friday the 17th. I will be going to Iceland with my girlfriend, and by the time you speak with me next, I will be an engaged man. So very excited for all of that. Yeah, thank you, Donna. I appreciate it. Guillermo, yes, it will sync. Thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited. It will not sync to your native iPhone functions. That is a good question. Everything in Handheld Contact is stored within the Handheld Contact app on your phone. So it will keep separate from your phone's contacts and calendars. Android users, again, have another advantage here. It will integrate with your phone's address book and bring up caller ID if anybody calls your cell phone, whereas iPhone users can synchronize the contacts from Handheld Contact to their phone address book in order to get that caller ID, but it is then existing and kind of stepping outside the app. Handheld Contact on the iPhone really is more sandboxed and kind of partitioned into its own zone. The Android gets more fluid integration with everybody else. It's kind of the nature of developing apps for each device. Okay, I'll let you get back to your work days. I know everybody just got back from a long weekend. Hopefully you had the day off, and enjoy your day. Bye.